Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Let me introduce the members of town government that assist this board. To my left is Martin Simon, Assistant Town Attorney. To his left is Simone Freeman, also Assistant Town Attorney. To her left is Blaise Donadio, a planner in the Planning Department. You are all here tonight seeking relief from the Smithtown zoning ordinances, and it's our job to try to help you achieve the relief you are requesting whenever possible. It's up to you to provide us with precise and accurate information so we as a board can make a decision based on the facts presented. This board must consider the 5 area variance considerations in order to render a decision, and they are as follows. They're also listed up here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. Number 2, whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other means feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Procedures for tonight's meeting. Cases will be called in the order they are advertised. When you are called, please present your certificates of postings or mailings to Mr. Donadio if you haven't done so already. Then you will be asked to go to the podium. We will state your name and address for the record and then proceed to tell us why you need your variance. At the end of your presentation, if anyone in the audience would like to speak on your case, they will be given one opportunity to do so. Then the applicant can come back to the podium to answer their concerns. Once the public hearing is closed, no further information will be accepted concerning the case. There are 2 ways to find out about your case. You can call the planning department tomorrow after 12 p.m., or you can wait and be notified by mail.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first case on the agenda, case number 19129, Jack Curto, 11 Pumpkin Road, St. James. The location of the property, the east side of Pumpkin Road, 187 feet south of Storybook Lane. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 75 feet to 58 feet for a proposed 358 square foot, 1-story rear addition.
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Jack Curto. I live at 11 Pumpkin Road, St. James. I'm looking to expand my house a little bit on the rear so we could add a kitchen addition because our family is expanding and growing. And that's the reason we're looking to get this variance.
Is it going to be a 1-story addition?
Yes, sir.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No. Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The survey submitted does show that the existing 6-foot PVC fence in the rear yard encroaches 13.4 feet onto the town property to the east. DEW recommends the applicant contact the Highway Department regarding the removal or legalization of that encroachment.
Understood.
All right. You know where it is, right? On the east portion of your property? Up on the
Far
top there?
rear.
Right.
Right. Yes.
Right there.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay.
So you'll contact the proper authorities and get that all
Yes.
resolved?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
fine.
property was just recently surveyed, so that was obviously put in the wrong place. We'll have to address that and move that off of the town property and take care of it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19130, Kenneth and Alicia Tracy, 15 Loft Road, Smithtown. The location of the property is the south side of Loft Road, 736 feet east of Old Willets Path. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 24 feet to 7 feet for an existing 15-foot by 30-foot semi-in-ground pool.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Ken Tracy, and I'd like a variance for the pool. And I have my architect, Carmine, here, and he's going to talk for me.
Okay, fine, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Carmine Grasso from Cataldo Grasso Architects, office at 14 Carl Avenue in Smithtown. I submitted the affidavits of mailing and posting and the mailing receipts to the planning department this afternoon. So I represent the Tracys in their request for a setback variance for their semi-in-ground pool. The pool was installed in 2023, and my clients were unaware at that time that the pool was located in the required side yard. So that's why they need the side yard setback variance. This location was chosen for the pool because the clients didn't want to remove, there's some old trees in the backyard right behind the house, and they didn't want to remove the trees in order to put the pool in, so they put it in that location because it was the most open area. When they did this, there's also some paving in the backyard as well, which is all to code. But there is a stormwater runoff issue because of this, because of the between the pool and the driveway in the back. The property all kinds of slopes down towards the neighbor to the east's property. So as part of this application, what we're doing is we've designed a drainage system that will collect a 3-inch rainfall and distribute it into 3 dry wells that are located at the front of the property. This system's indicated on the site plan that you have. That was our number one concern when we were doing this plan, is that we wanted to make sure that we could take care of that runoff because it could be significant when there's a heavy rain. So in regard to the area variance considerations, whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. We're going to say no because we know there is this stormwater issue, but we are addressing it as part of the application, and it should be resolved. All the stormwater will be captured on the property and distributed into stormwater dry wells. Whether the benefit can be sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue. No, at this point, relocating the pool would cause the removal of a number of old trees in the backyard, and it would also come at a great expense to the owner. Whether the requested variance is substantial, we don't feel it is, because if it wasn't in the side yard, it would only need a variance for about 1 inch. For the pool's setback would need to be 8 feet if it wasn't in the side yard, if it was in like the required rear yard. And in this case, it's 7.9 feet away from the property line. And then whether the proposed variance would have an adverse effect on the physical environment. Again, the pool itself isn't causing any impact. We feel the runoff would, but we are taking care of that. And then finally, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Unfortunately, yes, my clients were unaware that the pool was located in the required side yard, so it's, unfortunately, it is their self-created difficulty. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, so the dry wells aren't in yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, and then you're going to run from the pool area, it looks like a French drain?
Yeah, we're going to have a trench drain along that side of the property line, and we're also considering, because the fence that's runs, like blocks off the front of the property from the rear, goes right down to the grade. So what happens is when the water runs off, it hits that fence and then goes down towards the neighbor's property. So we're considering raising that fence and also putting another trench drain so that the water, it'll catch water in both directions, and then also go out to the dry wells as well.
And the property slopes down to Loft Road, right?
Yeah, it slopes down to Loft Road and slightly to the east as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's higher in the back and all goes down in that direction.
Okay. All right. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No. Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
Mr. Chairman, the survey submitted does show that a portion of the existing retaining wall that's along Loft Road encroaches up to 6.5 feet into the town right-of-way to the north. DEW recommends the applicant contact the Highway Department regarding the removal or legalization of this encroachment. And additionally, the property is located within the DEC River Corridor, and we recommend the applicant contact DEC to determine whether they need permits or not for the work.
We will contact DEC, and you're talking about that planter in the front, I assume, right? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right, yep, okay, thank you. We'll address that.
Right?
Thank you.
Excuse me. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the adjoining neighbor, Mr. and Mrs. Mark. The Marks have been neighbors with the Tracy, excuse me, the Tracys for a few years now, and we understand that the pool is going to stay where it is because it would be a tremendous job to remove that pool and relocate it. However, there are some questions that we have. Actually, we're very glad that Carmine is the architect that's doing the drainage, because that's the most serious issue that we have. And I think, Blaze, if you could put that short video up, please. Well, okay, let's stay with that. That's the, it's kind of a, I guess you would call it a dirt blocking retaining wall on my client's side, because I guess, and Carmine would know better than me, but the water, when it's draining off the property, drains to my client's property, and it's really a fast flow of water. If you watch, you'll see in a couple of seconds how that water is flowing down on my client's property. It did a little bit of undermining of my client's garage, but he's taken care of that. So our concern, our main concern, is that the drainage system that Carmine designed works. The second concern we have is whether or not a retaining wall is needed. Again, if the water is contained and the dirt doesn't flow onto my client's property, then we're happy with that. And finally, you know, a swimming pool is not like a shed. It's not an inanimate thing. People, and they should enjoy a pool and have good times. On the other hand, as this board has done many times to many of my applications, we respectfully request that possibility that the board require some foliage screening along the fence, because you can see the pool is raised pretty high, so noise and noise can be pretty prevalent with this kind of situation. So if they could do some plantings like you've made my clients do many times, we'd appreciate it. So again, we're not asking that the Tracy's remove the pool and put it anywhere else. What's done is done. We just like to be sure that our property is not adversely affected. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Carmine?
Thank you. Yeah, I just spoke to my client. They would be willing to put some plantings along along the side yard between, like a buffer between the pool and the property. They were just a little concerned about whether that would fit in that area, because it's only about 8 feet, roughly, 7, 8 feet. But I think we can make that work.
Okay, fine. All right, thank you. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19131, Daniel Singer. This is for a vacant lot within a subdivision. It is on the east side of Hobson Avenue, 201 feet south of Galehurst Lane within St. James. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting to reduce the minimum lot area from 21,780 square feet to 20,280 square feet for lot number 2 within the subdivision known as Map of Mattern Country Estates.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. We've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. The request is very de minimis. If you look at the required 21,750 and the proposed, I believe it's 20,250. It's about 1,500 square feet. Now, I'd like to emphasize that regardless of this reduction in square footage, the building envelope will be retained. There won't be any variances required for side yards or rear yards. And one looking at this lot really couldn't tell whether it was 21,750 or the existing or proposed 20,250. So it is for that reason that we don't feel that this will have an adverse effect on adjacent properties. Again, looking at the lot, you couldn't tell whether it was the full required half acre under town requirements or just a little less. Whether this could be achieved by some other method, no, it can't. There's no more land available. This is actually the maximum that we can make this second lot. If we move the line a little bit up, then the other lot would be, the other lot created would be less than the required half acre. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, obviously it's only 1,500 square feet, and if you envision it being spread out kind of throughout the lot, nobody is going to determine that this is a smaller lot than the required half acre. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions. Health Department meets Health Department requirements of 20,000 square feet, and we don't believe there's any other environmental conditions. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, no. We're asking the board for its favorable consideration. Again, I'd just like to remind the board that the planning board recommended to this board that you approve the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No comments, Mr. Chairman. I just want the board members to be aware that this subdivision was previously approved This board granted the variance to reduce the lot area. I don't know what the reason was, but the applicant did not follow through with finishing the subdivision and filing the final map. So basically, they're coming back to the BZA and to the planning board to get the approvals again.
Exact same.
Exact same thing.
All right, thank you. Sabrina, nothing? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up, please. Good evening.
Good evening.
Could you state your name, spell your last name so we get it correct for the record, please?
Sure. Allison Gildersleeve,
Jessica Avellino.
spelling, Allison, Gildersleeve, Gildersleeve. V like Victor. V like Victor.
JESSICAAVELLINO.
So, first, I'd like to address what you just mentioned about it previously being approved. Well, since that previous approval, our home has been built, which is touching this property. So that, our home was not there when it was previously approved. So the demography, whatever the word is, has changed. That's the first thing. Secondly, everyone keeps saying only 1,500 square feet, only, but it's 1,500 square feet.
For a reason. There
For
is
a
a
reason.
number for a reason in St. James. The half-acre lot was set for a reason. If we start saying, oh, well, it's only 1,500, then it can be, well, it's only 2,000, and then it's only 2,500. So for your eye to look at it, it really doesn't, you can't tell the difference. But there is a difference. There's a reason those things are set. That's the reason we are here.
All right,
So if those are set, then shouldn't they be applied, is what I don't understand. At that point, then we all shouldn't even be in this room, really, because on how I feel is like what you have said, you've already agreed to it. And there's also a conflict of interest because Vinnie is
Excuse me,
our family
address this
attorney,
board, please.
our family attorney as well. So it's becoming a bit of a conflict of interest. We didn't have time to also get another attorney
We
for
only
this.
got the letter a week ago.
So, and my lot also has, if this house is built, I have 8 pieces of property, 8 surrounding my property. I have now been in a fishbowl. So I moved in thinking that I had nobody there. So it was nice, considering on Galehurst, I have 4 pieces of property. On the front of my property, I have a lady's backyard that she also tried to have her property subdivided, and it was shot down twice. It's the same situation, it was the same. And it got shut down because it was not big enough. And I have her as well. I've had to put trees. Also, I wasn't aware that my home has flooding like no other. I have a swamp in my backyard, which is touching this property right now that you are talking about putting a build on. So now, how do I know that now this is not going to flood my yard? I've had sewer drains. I have 5 in my ground. I have 5.
We have receipts from this summer alone having to do this. This is an environmental issue.
It's
You
outrageous.
can't say that, the land people said it wasn't, the environmental people came, they didn't ask us where this property's touching.
It's
We are a new home.
brand new.
This home is brand-new build. Everything has changed.
And now, the reason it's small, so now I'm gonna come out my yard, and we live in St. James, and the half acre is there for a reason. I pay a lot in taxes. I pay to live in a beautiful property, a beautiful town. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I don't wanna live in a town where we're chopping them up. And now these lots are smaller and smaller. I don't wanna go out my front door and I look out my kitchen window and I'm a stone's throw away from looking in somebody else's window. We pay a lot of taxes where I live. I pay almost $30,000 a year. That's a lot. I pay a lot. And to me, to have 8, now we're gonna add another 8 pieces of property on one lot is outrageous to me. That's crazy. And it may be only 1,500, but when does it stop then? So then the next one will be, oh, well, that's only 25. You can't tell with your eyes, but it's set for a reason. They have to be set and stopped. Unfortunately, she got a big piece of property, I get it. But then just sell your home and sell it with the property and move on. But it shouldn't be that that's what's happening, because now the lots are getting smaller and smaller, and they're building bigger houses also, and we're like this close to each other. I don't want to live like in Nassau County where they're chopped up. That's really what it's starting to be. And there has to come a point where you say there's a reason and it's set. And it's also not a political thing that everybody knows everybody. And because we know.
We were told that's how it'll just get pushed through.
We already were told
because
that.
they
It's
know
gonna
people
happen no
here.
matter what. We were told that, just
Okay.
on record.
And beyond that, how many days, do you think is fair for us to have gotten a lawyer ourselves, gotten an environmental assessment? I mean, to get a letter less than a month before this meeting, how many days ago was it?
Not long.
10
Not
days ago?
long.
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, is that enough time to prepare for something like this?
It's like everyone's coming with these things. We didn't even, we called Vinnie's ours. He's like, sorry, it's happening.
I'm representing these
The-
people.
And he
the
said it's
letters are sent
happening.
out according to the law.
Yes,
So.
but
that's-
the
that's
problem is he's
required
our
date.
lawyer.
That's-
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. Oh, you can't, sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. So the problem is, unfortunately, Vinnie is our lawyer. So now we're trying to figure out, and lawyers are expensive. So I'm not just gonna go look in Google and say, here's 10,000, No, I wanna do it right before this is
Can I
done.
just ask you a question? Both your homes are on
AJC.
Galehurst?
No, I'm on Heidi Court, I'm 21 Heidi Court.
Oh, you're on Heidi Court, so you're,
You see, I am on.
The backyard
Yes, and
to
if you
this
see
house.
my property, I have my front yard touches on Astor's backyard. You see that? The cut-through that was also supposed to be,
Yeah.
that divides the two courts.
okay, so you're on, are you on Heidi also?
We own this house
We own the
together.
together.
Oh, you own the house
Yes,
together?
sorry.
So you're talking about one house?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like living in a fishbowl now, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I have like a swimming pool there, it's like everybody's in it. We all might do like a community, like we're all there, It's like a lot, it's a lot. That's. What am I? North. Am I north? I don't know. I'm being honest. I just know my front yard would be, what would it be? I don't even know. Oh, am I north? It would be next to me. No, it's full. It would be my entire side of my property. You see, I'm the long one. Singer's on the other side of the property. He's trying to buy it to build a house for his son, which I get. That's great. But, so he would then own the two. She's the Singer, the middle, the long part, and then me. I'm 21, Heidi Court.
So you're at the end of Heidi Court?
Yes, that bumps up to the two courts. You see those two court like that?
So the front side of your yard would be this front of this yard?
Yes, but I also, and that lady on Astor, her backyard is the two of our front yards. You see how weird that's chopped up?
It's too congested.
It's, yeah, there has to be a point where we stop, like it's, I don't know, it's like, it's weird, is it not? I get it, it's so weird the way the property was and is, and I enjoyed that. I'm like, oh, good, at least this side is empty. Like, there's nobody there, it's somewhat quiet. You're on a dead end. Now it's like, I don't know.
Right.
So, I just would like to know, I would like to have an attorney to do this, to even prove, like, if you see right now, I have like a lake on my backyard that touches the property for sale. So how do I know that now, once you start digging up her entire, she's got a mess back there also, so let's just throw that. The sheds, the disaster, the trees, what's gonna do now to my yard? How do I know now you're not gonna make mine flood even more? It's
Well,
bad.
he's required to keep all the water on his property, but we'll bring Mr. Tramarko back to answer your other concerns. Okay.
Okay.
Is
So
that it?
can we get a postponement on a decision?
No.
It's today.
Okay.
Okay, then. So that's my point. I just want to say. So at the end of the day, not anyone's thing. We were already told it's getting passed through, so really it's just irrelevant. But I just wanted to say my piece.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
We
so
did
much.
get told that.
Have a good, we did get told that, so it's like, why?
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard on this application? No? Mr. Tramarko?
Fifteen hundred square feet is 1,500 square feet. It's not 2,000, it's not 2,500. Yes, I represented the Avellino family for years. I don't see any conflict of interest. And I've represented Mr. and Mrs. Singer for years. Two different applications, two different procedures. With respect to water, I understand what the ladies are talking about, and as you indicated, Mr. Chairman, we have to control our water on our property. The engineering department looks at every building application and requires dry wells for the gutters and leaders, so I don't believe that will be an issue. The configurations of the properties happened in stages. It just didn't all happen at once and converge upon the lady's property or the proposal that Mr. and Mrs. Singer are making. We propose to build a nice house there. As I said, the side yards, rear yards, they'll all be maintained. So contrary to what the ladies said, you're not going to know of any kind of lesser size property. And as Blaze brought out, this was approved a few years ago, and I believe it was Mrs. Mattern that never followed through with it. We're going to build a nice house there. We're going to try and make everybody happy, and hopefully the young ladies will see that the Singers want to do the right job too, because they live there too. They live right next door to that lot that they're proposing. So I think hopefully it'll be one happy family, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19132, Deborah Pena, 67 Elderwood Drive West, St. James. The location of the property is the east side of Elderwood Drive West, and 975 feet west of Arrowwood Drive. Excuse me. The property is owned R43. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 60 feet to 43 feet for a proposed 399 square foot basement addition under a patio.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Deborah Penna, and I live at 67 Elderwood Drive in St. James. And I would like my architect, Mr. Michael Morbillo, to speak on my behalf.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Michael Morbillo, architect. My firm is Nspire Design Group. I have offices located at 273 Lake Avenue, St. James, New York. So the application before you this evening is certainly, I'll say, a unique one. And I'd like to go through the criteria for potentially granting such a variance. The applicant started off looking to do some renovations on the front of their home to change some of the stylings, adding on a small front porch, also adding on some embellishments over the garage on the right side of the house. But primarily, they started with a front porch. And part of what they were looking to do while they're doing renovations, siding, roofing, some new windows, they were looking for a space potentially to have a golf simulator in the house. So we looked at different locations for this. One potentially was over the garage, but we didn't have access to that space through any bedrooms on the second floor. And if we look at the floor plan, or actually the foundation plan, we looked at some locations, I'll say, on the south side of the house, which is where the garage is, but also it's where the driveway is. So we weren't, we were looking at a place where potentially we could add on. The back of the house, or what would be the east side of the property, there's presently like crawl space and patios and other spaces there, again, where there's unexcavated areas where it would make it difficult to kind of add on a room onto the house. And then we also looked at the north side of the property, potentially for adding on. We did have side yard issues. And the ground kind of drops off a little bit, so whatever we added on would be a little bit more pronounced in the landscape. Potentially in the pictures that were submitted, if it's in the record, there's maybe a picture of the front of a front patio. That's actually kind of depicting it. There may be a little more close-up one, but in front of the house there's a patio that connects to a walkway, and in looking for areas, the contractor that they have said, hey, we're considering a porch on the front of the house. We have a patio that comes out about 17 feet, which is about the width of this front gable of the house. He said, I have to dig down deep anyway to put a foundation underneath the porch because they have a basement in that area. Why don't we just put something underneath the patio? So at first I looked at it and I said, I haven't done that before, but I have done underground rooms or spaces or other things. And being that, we didn't have other locations on the house to place it, and how on the left side of the house the grade kind of drops off, we didn't look to start going substantially into a side yard. And I know that in the past, generally, structures that are underground, in some cases, aren't considered encroachments because they're subterranean, whether it's dry wells or other things, or wells, or things of that nature. So we thought that this is something that you won't actually see. It'll be underground. It'll be connected to a basement. It'll be in the place where the current patio is. It's not going to change the character of the neighborhood. And to that extent, we approached the neighbors directly across from us and neighbors on the sides. And we spoke to them about what we were doing, and they didn't see that they didn't see that there would be an impact on the neighborhood, so they have some support letters. So I have 4 support letters I'd just like to enter into the record.
Thank you.
So these are from, again, neighbors across the street and on 2 sides of the applicant. Certainly we won't have an environmental impact because anything we create, we're going to have drainage structures to collect any water that may be collected over the patio area or over the porch. We looked to see if there was another way of doing this. So we examined other methods and other places to place this. We looked and we couldn't find one. So I don't think, I think that's one of the unique aspects of this is that if we had some other place to put it, we'd have another place to put it. The uniqueness of this application is that we didn't have a spot. So I understand the concern of not creating precedent or other things, but it's a subterranean type of structure. So being that we didn't have any other place to put it is why it's come where it is, and the fact that we're doing some other improvements in the area with this front porch, it seemed like that would have a low impact on the house also. Like, we don't have to disturb the existing structure of the house because it's basically kind of being added adjacent to the house underneath where the porch area is. So that's something that I think is somewhat unique with the application. As I said, I mentioned, the question might be, is it substantial? Certainly on the call of the meeting, the encroachment is about a 28% encroachment. Now, we know that generally for a front yard, we don't want something like that, of that substance, even though part of this is for a porch, being that we're reducing from 60 to 43 feet. However, I think that that's mitigated by the fact that this is really an underground structure. In fact, when we first submitted it to the building department, they weren't really sure if we needed a variance due to the fact that it was sort of subterranean. My sense is always I'd rather come before this board and have a clear statement that this is something that won't have an impact on the neighborhood. So certainly the matter is self-created. That's the last of the criteria, but I believe that what I presented here tonight meets the other criteria. And if the board has any questions at this time, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, so to get into this room, you'll access it through the existing basement?
That's correct.
Under the house?
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
I guess my only question would be more practical in nature.
Yeah.
How do you design it so that down the road somebody backs a cesspool pump around the front lawn and doesn't know that's there?
So we're designing a reinforced concrete slab over it with steel structure, and really for the ability for lawn equipment or anything else of that nature, potentially, I'll say even cars, because it does happen on occasion that we actually design basements underneath people's garages. So we are designing in that same fashion so a vehicle could drive over this without any issue.
Thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
Thank you.
Is there, excuse me, anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Have a
Good
good
night.
evening.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19133, Richard Ophuls and Eleanor Richards, 28 Harvest Lane, Comac, the location of the property, the south side of Harvest Lane, 191 feet west of Rye Place. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 7 feet, to reduce the total side yards from 28 feet to 9 feet for a proposed 288 square foot, two-story side addition, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 2 feet for an existing 96 square foot shed, to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the front yard from 25% to 57%, and to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the side yard from 25% to 57% for existing paving.
Good evening.
Hey, I'm Rich Opals. My friend Kevin Ream is also in the industry, so he's going to be representing me with some of the more technical questions. But, we're both here.
I'm sorry, you're the homeowner.
I'm the homeowner, yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Kevin Ream with an office at 12 Church Street in Kings Park, New York. Three things to address here. One, the addition. The other is the overpaving and the shed. I'll just get into the shed. We did actually have a permit for it when we did build the deck and closed it out. Over time, we just felt it was in a better location to move it to the side yard. So, like I said, we did get a permit and CO for that. As far as the overpaving goes, if you look up and down the neighborhood, everyone in the neighborhood has this paving. You could tell by the photos, it's very well kept. It was professional work. The homeowner isn't in the industry. So that's for those two. As far as the addition goes, as you can see, we're only doing it towards the rear of the house. It's a very small addition. They do have a growing family. The kitchen is a little tight, and also with, COVID and working from home, they needed a little bit of a home office, just, for some extra room there. So we looked at other options, when going through this, and if you look at the floor plan, unfortunately, coming out of the back of the kitchen, we already have a beautiful deck that's there in level with the kitchen, so we couldn't do that. And the other side of the house is their master bedroom, and would just take a whole reconfiguration of the entire home if we were to come out that spot. As far as environmental goes, we're not adding any plumbing fixtures, so no additional water usage here. We're not adding bedrooms, so no need for the sanitary system to be upgraded. And we are going to be collecting any runoff in the area. We did speak to the neighbor, where this addition is going to be encroaching. They have no objection to it. Like I said, property is very well maintained. So again, it's really just to get some extra room in the kitchen there, because it is a little tight inside there, in the dining room, with a family, and then just the office space, just to have, to do some work, spend more time at home. If anyone has any questions, be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Nothing? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Obviously, yeah. The next case on the agenda, case number 19134, Denny and Lizette Canario, 6 Fernwood Drive, Comac. The location of the property is the southwest corner of Fernwood Drive and Rondi Drive. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback on Rondi Drive from 45 feet to 17 feet for a proposed 480 square foot pavilion.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lisette Huerta Canario. I'm the owner for 6 Fernwood Drive. I feel comfortable Jared speaks for me. He's the one that's in charge of the project.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good. Can you state your name, spell your last name so we get it correct for the record, and give your address, please?
Jared Mancini, Mancini, from Flawless Masonry, 33 Ridge Road, Smithtown, New York, 11787.
Thank you.
Oh, so we're installing a pavilion, as you can see right there, right over that side patio by the pool. And because they're on the corner lot, 2 front yards, the setback didn't meet, and now we're at the meeting.
The pavilion's 24 by 8?
24 by 20.
by 20.
Yep.
Four sides are open?
Yes.
Anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thanks.
No, thank you.
Planning.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Excuse me. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Have a motion to close the application, please.
So moved.
Second?
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 1915, Robert Calamia, 133 4th Street, St. James. The location of the property is the northeast corner of 4th Street and Jefferson Avenue. The property is owned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the setback from lot line on Jefferson Avenue. 6-foot PVC fence.
Good evening.
Hello, members of the council. My name is Robert Calamia. I reside at 133 4th Street, St. James. The highlighted line is actually on the wrong line. It's the northern side of that. I currently have a 3.5-foot picket fence that's on my property at the exact location that I'm proposing to put the 6-foot fence at. Right now, I could just step over it, and we're planning a family, so it'd be nice to be able to have a secure backyard that I could, yeah, exactly. Feel free to, have space and privacy. The reason why I was requesting from a 10-foot setback to a 0 setback is to continue the original fence line and not encroach too greatly on my backyard because it is very narrow. The town says it's the backyard, the side yard and front lawn, but we use that as our backyard space. Our neighbors to the north of us also are willing to, they were going to give me a letter saying that they approve of the situation. I think it's actually in the folder. Yes, that's really it. Thank you.
You're gonna keep the 3.5-foot fence in the front of your house,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
The
on the,
six-
on-
The 6-foot is
Yes,
gonna replace the 3.5 in the rear area.
so if you see where the fence comes off of the corner,
Right.
right there on my house,
Mhm.
that to the corner of the street, and then straight back to my neighbor's property.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not on the front. It's not going to interfere with the Jefferson and 4th Street. Jefferson is a more busy road. That's kind of why I was like to have a 6-foot fence. And it's not going to obstruct my neighbor on the north side because their driveway is actually on the far side of their property, so it won't obstruct their field of view entering and exiting
Right.
their driveway.
We rode by yesterday,
Oh.
just to check to see if it would interfere with the traffic. It doesn't at all.
No. Yeah, that.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Have a motion to close the application, please.
So moved.
Second?
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
very much. Have a nice night.
You too.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19137, Lynn Anderson, 8 Timberbrook Road, Fort Salonga. The location of the property, the east side of Timberbrook Road, 239 feet north of Brookfield Road. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 60 feet to 30 feet to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered where depth to groundwater is equal to or less than 10 feet for an existing 240-square-foot shed.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Christina Fry, an attorney with offices at 7 Pine Ridge Drive, Smithtown, New York, on behalf of Lynn Anderson, owner of 8 Timberbrook Road. Ms. Anderson has had a shed in the front yard since dating back well into the 50s. She does have a survey that showed the shed there in the 50s. She renovated the shed in 2017, replaced all the walls on the same pad of concrete, because at that point it had been almost 70 years old and was dilapidated. Sometime after the improvement in the last year, she received a violation for a shed in her front yard. We're here today to request the board grant a variance for an accessory structure in the front yard to reduce the minimum front yard from 60 feet to 30 feet and to alter environmentally sensitive lands with depth to groundwater is equal to or less than 10 feet. We do not have a test bore at this point. We were just asked to do a test bore last week. It was conducted today, but I do not have the results. I don't believe any undesirable change to the neighborhood will take place in this instance, especially considering that the shed has been there probably longer than anybody has lived in the neighborhood. It matches very well with the property, matches the home. If anyone went past the property, you can see that the shed is not towering over the property. It's actually a slope downward when you enter the property. And so it's not an ugly shed. It looks like a cute little cottage, in fact, and it's a tool shed where she keeps lawnmowers and things of that nature. You see the big double doors for the ride-on lawnmower. Miss Anderson spends a lot of time in her yard, planting flowers, tending to the property. She owns a 2-acre parcel, which is larger than most of the parcels in that area. I don't believe the variance requested is substantial. The shed is 10 by 24. It measures 240 square feet. And as I said, it does match nicely and gives the property a look of somewhat of a horse property, even though there are no horses on the property. Again, I don't believe there would be a substantial or any adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. A shed has existed in that exact same location at the exact same size for 70-plus years. Again, she did not alter the foundation of the shed, so in terms of an environmental impact, I think it's de minimis, if any at all. And this was not self-created. Miss Anderson the shed predates Miss Anderson.
Okay, all right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
Mr. Chairman, as Ms. Fry has stated, the submission of new test hole data within the past 6 months is required in order to complete our environmental review. Additionally, the required environmental review fee that was submitted was insufficient due to a miscalculation. We've notified the applicant, but to date, we haven't received the additional fee yet.
Yes, I actually have the check in my purse, and I was waiting to hand in the test hole results along with the check in one visit,
Okay.
because there's no parking there.
There's no action on this tonight.
Yes, understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on in, please. Good evening.
My name is Dina Atlas. I live across from this piece of property where Lynn lives. I'm living there shy of 30 years. So I am confirming that that slab was there, that barn, I always called it a barn, kind of as a small shed barn, always was there. And she fixed it up because it was breaking down. She did a fantastic job. She put also a fence. It looks like a picket fence. So yes, it looks like a farm ranch there now, and it just it's very eye appealing. I'm very grateful for it because before it was run down. but it was there. Now, another reason why I know this is a good location is Lynn property reaches out to the back end, and on very bad rains, and this is because it's called Timber Brook, because I live on the brook across the street. The brook goes from the back of her property where there's a gully and comes all the way through the front. So obviously from years ago, they had to put that shed in that location because if you're looking at it from the street side, to the right of it would fill up with water. And I'm telling you, it looks like a little pond, which really was some kind of a brook, so that's why they call it. And it went across the street, because years ago, when I first moved onto my home, Timber Brook was a gravel road. So it was constantly being flushed out into the pond, which is across the street from us. So that's probably why the shed was put over in that location 70 years ago, and her driveway is to the left of that shed because it's easier. And if she put anything on the right-hand side, it would gotten flooded over. But that's just part of the history of it. But otherwise, I'm grateful. It looks fantastic, I think, and she's done a really great job with her piece of property.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience want to be heard on this? No?
Always nice to get a little history, and of course, always nice to have neighbors' support. I appreciate the board's attention to this matter tonight. Have a good evening.
Okay, you too. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
What's that? The next case on the agenda, case number 19138, Arturo Penalver, 281 Lilac Lane, Smithtown. The location of the property, the south side of Lilac Lane, 1,509 feet west of Brookside Drive. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 21 feet for a proposed 732 square foot, one-story addition.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Arturo Penalver, 281 Lilac Lane, Smithtown, New York. I'm here today to request a variance for a side yard setback, reducing the setback. I do want to state that I was here maybe about a year ago and got approved variance for the same side yard setback. However, I decided to make an amendment to the plans to increase the square footage of the addition from about 500 to 732, and that caused me to be here again today.
Exact same proposal as last time, except it's a little larger.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
Mr. Chairman, the current application to enlarge the existing single-family residence requires approval from the Department of Health. This information is required in order to complete our environmental review. We have notified the applicant of their need to contact the Health Department, and I believe they are in the process of reaching out to them per a phone call I had with him, but therefore no decision will be made tonight.
Thank you. So you're going to get in contact with the health department? then?
Correct, yes. I'm working with the surveyor on plans and everything you requested.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Is there anyone in the audience want to be heard on this application? Nope. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19138, Nancy and Rita Ganji. 2 Radcliffe Road, Comac. The location of the property is the southeast corner of Radcliffe Road and Kings Park Road. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit temporary living quarters for a family member.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nancy Ganji. I live at 2 Radcliffe Road, Comac, and I'm going to have Carmine Grasso speak for me this evening.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening again. Again, my name is Carmine Grasso from Cataldo Grasso Architects, office at 14 Carl Avenue in Smithtown. I've submitted the mailing receipts and the affidavits of mailing and posting this afternoon to the planning department. So I represent Nancy and Rita Ganji in their request for a special exception for temporary living quarters for a family member. The temporary living quarters is going to be located on the first floor of the residence, partially in an area that was a converted garage. The garage conversion was done previously and it received permits from the town under the previous owner. The temporary living quarters is being used by one of the sisters. The total area of the living quarters is 470 square feet, which is 3.28% of the lot area. I've submitted a letter outlining how the application meets all of the general and the specific standards for the special exception. If you would like, I could go over each of the standards, or if you have any questions, I could answer them. It's up to you.
I don't think we have to go over
Okay,
them.
I
It was a
figured
PA
not.
It was a PAR issue.
Yeah, right. I do want to note that no variances are required because of this application, and that my client has submitted the affidavit stating that her sister will be living in the temporary living quarters. And I did receive a copy of the PAR from the planning department today, and we are in agreement with it. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
What is the square footage?
470 square feet.
Planning?
Planning prepared a planning advisory report for the board's review. Upon review of the application, we recommended approval.
Thank you. Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19136, Michael and Joan Martin, 57 Half Hollow Road, Comac. The location of the property is the east side of Half Hollow Road, 162 feet north of Summers Lane. The property is owned R43. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit temporary living quarters for a family member.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Joan Martin, and I am here this evening requesting your approval for a special exception permit at my residence located at 57 Half Hollow Road in Comac. The proposal is to maintain an existing first-floor temporary living quarter for our son. The living quarter consists of 506 square feet of first-floor living space within the existing single-family dwelling. The existing living quarters was previously approved by the board under BZA Case 7966 on April 24th, 1984. So we thank you for your consideration of this special exception.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Planning?
The board has our PAR. We reviewed the application.
Right.
As the applicant stated, the board has previously approved this special exception. It's about 40 years ago, so we recommended approval.
This is for 506 square feet.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard of this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good night. And that concludes our meeting for tonight. All right, the first case tonight was case 19129, Jack Curto.
Case 19129. I'll make a motion to approve as presented with the condition that all, that the fence encroachment be removed or legalized.
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19130, Alicia and Kenneth Tracy.
Case 19130, I'll make a motion to approve with the condition that the retaining wall encroachment in the front be removed or legalized, and that plantings acceptable to the planning director be planted along the property line adjacent to the pool.
It was also recommended that they reach out to DEC to make sure that they don't need any permits.
And the condition that they reach out to DEC to make sure that they don't need any permits for being in the river corridor.
Just a quick question about the plantings, because we're going to have to be specific. I guess I'm supposed to be using this. Because we've had a situation arise where the applicant was told to do a planting buffer, and they were confused as to exactly what they had to do. Is this is going to be a single row of
Either a
type 2
single row or
plantings?
type, yeah, a single row of type 2 plantings.
Single row of type 2 plantings.
7
Okay.
feet, yeah.
All right. Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19131, Daniel Singer.
Case 19131, Daniel Singer. Just to verify, the planning board recommended that we approve this.
Yes, there should be a letter from them, memo, in your packet that states that.
And that they would obviously work with the Board of Site Plan Review, or the Board of Site Plan Review would make sure that drainage would not be an issue when this is ultimately developed.
Well, when it finishes going through the subdivision process, they have to do a performance bond. Within that performance bond, they're required to do certain things. One of them would be the drainage to maintain everything on site, in addition to any public improvements that they have to do.
I'm sorry, in addition to?
Any public improvements they would be required to do.
All right, that being said, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19132, Deborah Penna.
Case 19132, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19133, Eleanor Richards and Richard Olfus.
Case 19133, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19134, Denny and Lisette Canaro.
Case 19134, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19135, Robert Calmia.
Case 19135, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19137, Lynn Anderson. No action. Excuse me. Next case is case 19138, Vittorio Penva. Again, no action. Next case is case 19139, Nancy and Rita Ganji.
Case 19139, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19136, Michael and Joan Martin.
Case 19136, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. On the back of the page, the first case is case 19046, Giovanni Stanco.
Case,
He agreed to the height of 22 feet.
In the file, the applicant did submit revised architectural plans. The size of the garage, the footprint has not changed. The height has been reduced to 22 feet.
Do we have a date on those plans so we could reference
Pull it
it?
out of the file.
Well-
Should be the,
Case
plans right on top.
19046, can you pull the plans up? I need a date on those plans.
This is for January 14th, right? Oh, you have a date for it? Yeah.
are they the ones stamped revised?
yeah, right there in your hand.
May 28th, let's see.
Should be on the title page.
What's that?
Should be on the title page
It'll say
for the
revision.
revision dates.
Oh, I'm here now. 22 feet.
What's the date?
The date.
The date is, the revised date is May 28th,
Okay.
24.
Case 19046, Giovanni Stanco, I'll make a motion to approve as per the amended plans submitted on May 28th to 22 feet only.
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19060, Boulder Smith Properties LLC.
I don't think I was here for that one.
When was this heard?
123.
123? I was here. Were you?
For some reason, I don't think so.
Boulder Creek.
January 23rd.
I don't think it was quite that long ago. I'm just going to take a look.
That's what it says.
Really?
I think it was adjourned to April 9th, if
Oh,
I
hold on
recall.
Then I wasn't here.
Yeah, it was adjourned to 4/9, so.
Okay.
then. Hold, please. Yep, it was, I got it.
Oh, I didn't see it.
We were waiting on town board approval?
You were.
I wasn't here.
Question, is there an existing buffer where this is going?
There is an existing buffer to the north, to the residence district. I don't think they are reducing the buffer. They're not touching the buffer.
Because that was my concern, is that if the buffer was going to be reduced.
Yeah, they're not touching the buffer.
Anyone else have a problem with this?
No.
No. All right, case 19060, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. The next two cases are for extensions. First case is 16643, Smithtown, Long Island Hotel Properties LLC, and 16644, Smithtown, Long Island Hotel Properties LLC. They're both requesting a year extension. Anybody have any problems with that?
Nope.
All right, both are approved, 5-0. And that concludes our meeting for tonight.